My name is Sasha Orloff, and I'm the founder and CEO of Puzzle, and this is how I screwed up accounting.
Welcome to How I Screwed This Up, where founders share the early mistakes that challenged their companies and the hard-won lessons that followed. I'm Sarah Hallam, and I run startup content at Rippling. As the producer of this series, I've had a chance to sit down with founders at every stage and discuss the messy realities of company building. While there's plenty of advice out there on how to validate your startup idea, frameworks for finding product-market fit, or how to nail that crucial VC partner meeting, the behind-the-scenes details like payroll headaches, hiring missteps, and compliance slip-ups are rarely discussed. The truth is, these gritty, real-world moments are just as important, often more difficult, and certainly more memorable than the headline wins. That's why we've created this series, to bring those candid conversations to the surface. Today, we're featuring Sasha Orloff, a 3-time founder and the current CEO of Puzzle. He tells us about how he screwed up his approach to accounting when building his first company, LendUp. You'll hear how following standard best practices almost cost him a term sheet, why simply hiring more accountants didn't solve his problem, and how this mistake ultimately inspired his next venture. When building startups, screw-ups are bound to happen, but the best founders learn from them. Let's dive in.
So LendUp was an alternative to payday lending about 15 years ago now. We were the first place on a mobile phone to be able to borrow money. We would underwrite you, ask you some questions, pioneered the idea of cash flow underwriting, making this decision, and instantly put money into your bank account. There's a lot of places where accounting is very important. I'm guilty of having misconceptions about what accounting could or could do. The most important thing is accounting is just required. It's required by the IRS. My first surprise was you have to file taxes even if you don't generate any revenue, which for a lot of early stage startups, we don't generate revenue right away. You still have to file taxes. The real problems came when I almost lost a term sheet from a venture capitalist that we were really excited about having invested in a company. When they explained it to me as, Sasha, if you're building a company and you're not doing the things that are required by law, what else are you not doing? And so it became this discussion about, was I passionate about the problem I was solving? Yes. Was I able to pull together a great team? Yes. Was I able to show market direction? Yes. But if I wasn't paying attention to the things that you need to do as a business, what else was I kind of ignoring or sidestepping? And I think this is also really important as you think about the transition from founding a company to being the CEO of the company. And this is just one of the core things that is really important as the CEO of the company, which is what I wanted to be as the founder of the company. I also wanted to be the CEO. Well, as with most things being a founder, we have to become quick experts at a lot of things really quickly and things that we might not be experts in. And so the way that we default to that is we follow these quote unquote best practices along the way. We hired an accounting firm, as a condition of closing the term sheet. So right away, like immediately that afternoon, I was just like, oh my God, where do we go? I need somebody who knows how to do this stuff along the way. This is 15 years ago. There just weren't that many firms that understood software businesses. Now they do. And then I think after we raised our Series A, we hired our first in-house accountant, a controller that was a friend of a friend. And by the time we had raised our Series D, we were on our third CFO. There was a dedicated team of data and engineers. There was probably about 10 accountants, 2 treasury people, and 2 IA people. I think in hindsight, there were all these little moments that were building up. I need more people. It's really slow. It's not telling me my burn and runway. It's not telling me my financial metrics. But the one moment that I realized that this was wrong was in our very first board meeting. And we prepared because it's the first board meeting. I don't know what to do. I over prepare. And the board member asks our accountant and then our CFO over time, whoever the person was at the time, a question. And they write down the answer. I'm like, can you just pull up your computer and answer right now? And they're like, how do I do that? It's like, well, I don't know. What software are you using? What are you doing? And they couldn't answer the question. I was like, oh, that was really weird. And then we go to the next board meeting and they're a little bit more prepared. And of course, the board asked a different question. They're like, oh, let me write that down. And then you start replaying, oh my God, when we're having our leadership meetings, the finance person is the only person that doesn't have their computer open. They have a notepad of paper. And that was that aha moment where both, one, we were following best practices, two, they were doing their job, and three, their software was limiting them from their ability to have an impact to help me build my business. If you're an accountant, you know what the job of accounting is. Your job is to prepare financial statements and prepare for taxes. This last part of what I alluded to before was there's also this misconception that I thought might have just been me, but it turns out that a lot of founders this, which is that accounting is designed to help you build your business. I mean, you're measuring all of the cash flows of a business, what's happening, what's the return, are you a healthy business, are you an unhealthy business? But it turns out that accounting isn't designed to help you build your business. It's designed to have this very specific summary static report of the history of your business for the IRS to determine taxes and for your investors to help determine what the value is of the company. And so these best practices are not actually best practices for the business. They're the best practices for compliance with your IRS and investors. Now, super important, really great, and you have to do it. It's required by law. And there's actually a lot of personal liability as founders. But these best practices didn't help me build a company, which is what I really wanted my accounting and finance team to do. It would start with these little things like, oh, you get your accounting on like the 20th or the 25th of the month. And you're like, oh, okay, that seems a little delayed. My bank account operates in real time. And then it starts growing and you ask your finance team an answer. And instead of telling you, they like write down the question. They come back to you sometimes days later. Maybe the best example is you're the captain of a boat and you look over to your co-pilot and you're like, hey, where are we right now? And they say, oh, you know what? 30 days ago, our latitude and longitude was like this. And you're like, what? And compared to 60 days ago, our latitude and longitude was this. And you're like, where are we right now? And they're like, no. 30 days ago, this was our latitude and longitude. And you're just like, we're talking totally different languages. Like, where are we about to hit an iceberg? Are we heading into a car? Like, is everything okay? We're now and there. That's not a point of accounting isn't to tell us where we are today. It's for me to tell you where I was 30 days ago. Could you imagine like the reality of that today for these like really important things about cash? That is the reality today about accounting. I think it can manifest in terms of like paying more taxes that are necessary, almost running out of money, losing a partnership deal, losing a venture investment, making the wrong investments in the business. And we did all of those. And the root cause, it's not actually a problem with accountants or accounting. It is the problem with accounting software. You know, it's funny too, as sort of a founder, you're thinking about what your ideas are. And I started a company and then handed over to a new leader and we spun out another division from that and attacked a different industry. And I was taking time off and I was thinking about what was my next business that I wanted to build. And I was speaking with a couple investors and one investor said, you know what, when you look back, you had this really unique opportunity. You scaled 2 companies from 0 to 100 million of revenue. The companies you founded raised over $1 billion of the equity and debt. What was something that was just a really big problem as you were growing and scaling? And I was like, oh man, I was so frustrated with the accounting and how accounting was handled at our business. And I realized that it wasn't the fault of accountants, it was the fault of accounting software. And so we decided to build Puzzle. Funny enough, the name Puzzle came from the first fractional CFO of Rippling, Amanda Catton, who I was on a call with and said, like, what you're building basically solves the puzzle of my business. And I was like, man, I got to go. Hung up the phone, bought the domain, and then here we are. I think there's the way that I think about building a business is it's part art and part science. In case the science is math, it's part art, part math. This is building business. There were 3 things that were the most frustrating. 1, I just want real-time accounting. And I don't need it to be absolutely perfect all the time, but I needed like a real-time draft. I need to understand the business, the cash, the position, the runway, the cash flows, the ROI, the budget actuals in real time. So the first thing we did was we made it real time. The second was what I talked about a little bit before, which is there's 2 types of accounting, cash accounting and accrual accounting. And they're both really important, but you have to choose one or the other. You can't have both. And I was like, that's ridiculous. I want accrual accounting because I want to see the health of a business. And I need cash accounting because I need to see the cash. Like I can't make payroll on my accruals. Like, that doesn't work. People want to get paid in real money and real cash and equity. And then you're going to fundraise, you're in a board meeting, or you're sitting around your executive table, and everybody has a computer with a real-time system, and your accounting and your finance team have a paper and pencil to write down your questions so they can answer it later. And then the third was, I need the accountants to do their job, file like our taxes with the IRS and do shareholder reporting. I also want them to be a seat at the table as my strategic thought partner so that we can blend the art and the science together. And so that was the inspiration behind why we started and what we're building at Puzzle. And if we can sort of combine those things together, then we can make more confident decisions in the future. I think when something feels wrong in your gut as a founder, that's okay. Something probably is wrong, and your intuition is telling you they need to fix it. And if somebody responds back with, that's just the way it's done, or this is what best practices are, I think it's kind of insulting. On the flip side, it also creates an opportunity for every ambitious person out there to go start a startup and go solve that problem. The warning signs as a founder are, this is what best practices are, or this is just the way it's always been done. And what that does is it doesn't acknowledge that we have a valid concern. The valid concern might be there's something wrong. The valid concern might be I just don't understand what is happening. The valid concern could be I'm not experienced enough to have the pattern recognition to understand how big of a problem this could be. But all of those things are basically unacceptable answers. Like, that's not okay. If I have a concern, I have to fix it. We have to fix it in the business. Now, I don't have to fix it personally, but I need to understand the gravity and the urgency of this to understand, do we need to reallocate money or resources to solve this problem? I think there's a lot of these that we see in our day-to-day business. Accounting was the one that I think was the biggest problem. But I think if we look across a lot of the B2B software and a lot of the office of the CFO and a lot of consumer products, they all came out of somebody saying, that's just the way it's done. And them saying, well, I don't accept that. And that is what I love about Silicon Valley, is we can turn our own frustrations and our own mistakes into opportunities. And there's a whole network and community of investors and other companies that are here to support people going to solve those problems. And so we sometimes refer to that from Paul Graham's essay as schlep blindness. Like, there's a problem right in front of your face. A lot of people are experiencing it, and we should just solve it. We don't accept that today is the best way. We go fix it and we make it better. And that's the reason why I'm a founder, and that's why I love Silicon Valley.